Hey, in this video we're going to talk about the history of space elevator competitions, the history of how we got here as an organization, how space elevator competitions started, how they've evolved over the years, and where they are now, how we've gotten to this point of having global space elevator competitions hosted regularly. Space elevators are a concept of science fiction. They are this future concept that needs to exist at some point, but currently we just can't build yet. Back in 2005, the Space Force Foundation partnered with NASA to create something called Space Elevator Challenges. Initially, the competitions focused on the two categories that NASA had as part of the Centennial Challenges: power beaming and material strength. The power beaming competition was what we now call a tether climber competition, where teams travel up and down a vertical tether without any onboard power in that case. And the material strength competition was a competition with teams designing very strong tethers. Now these were in association with NASA with very large prize pools. In fact, for the later competitions and where they eventually won, 2009, the prize pool was $4 million. So really company starting perspectives, and in fact what these competitions proved is that companies can get started from the competitions. They were able to develop the technology, and in fact the winning company still exists today, developing power beaming technology as a business. Competitions can work, we can really see how they work, and also really setting the stage for space elevator competitions as a whole. Following the original Space Elevator Challenges, the JSEA, the Japan Space Elevator Association, started hosting their own competitions in Japan as well. These competitions were focused on a university-level student base to develop robotic climbers, which we now call the Tether Climber Competition, to travel up and down a vertical tether. They kept going and extending the height of the balloons higher and higher, and eventually even reaching 1.3 kilometers balloon height, which is incredible. Developing these competitions beyond just the company high-ticket, high-reward systems to a more engineering-based system. Which then led to 2011, where the Aerospace Foundation started hosting competitions in Europe. Separate competitions, separate region. In the US, really showing the business side of it and how we can actually develop real usable technology through competitions. The European games really focus on the efficiency and practical payload systems. So again, really starting to tie back in what's practical, what can we actually use over here versus what's just technology development for the future. As Japan kept growing, they kept going higher and higher in altitude. In 2013, the climber height was 1.2 kilometers high. This was a tether reaching over a kilometer up. Really incredible height, really impressive, showing the value of the space elevator, showing that we can climb up altitudes like this. In 2014, the Technion Institute in Israel hosted a crane-suspended climber competition. In 2016, the European Space Elevator Competition doubled its own altitude from 50 to 100 meters and had the VAR team in Germany of the Technical University in Munich develop an impressive climber reaching a speed of 35 meters per second. In 2017-18, the Japan Space Elevator Competitions had innovative ideas to implement more marketing and more development, such as having robots on board the climbers and pushing for progress and more interest. And then in 2018, the WSPEC suspended from a balloon for the first time, sort of standardizing that as a general rule for space elevator climber challenges or tether climber challenges, and at this point judging teams comparatively on speed, efficiency, and the payload capacity. This now is starting to look a lot more like the tether climber competitions that we have today. In 2024, the European Space Elevator Competitions returned to Munich, hosted by the VAR, on an 85-meter tether, and focused on really scaling and scalable designs. And then in Japan, the SPEC competition returned as well in 2024 with 14 international teams designing these high-altitude deployments. Then in 2025, WSPEC was created as a collaboration between the JSEA, hosting the Japan Space Elevator Competitions, the VAR, current hostess of the European Space Elevator Competitions, ISEC, International Space Elevator Consortium, who have had assistance and have helped with the hosting of the US competitions, and Etheria, the company building the space elevator, under a single global umbrella to develop what we can do and to ultimately push for more development around the space elevator competitions. And this led to Japan's 2025 space elevator competitions, which were hosted by the JSEA and co-hosted by WSPEC as our first competition as an organization. In 2026, WSPEC is hosting its first international competitions on a global series, now scaling up and standardizing what we now know about all the competitions. Right? We understand how they can be held, we understand what the value is and where people can develop right now, as well as launching the new categories and bringing back the power beaming competition this year. Continue developing that, but on its own, separately, where we can have both the tether climber competition and the power beaming competition. Of course, eventually combine them, but keep leading to more and more development and features such as the tethers or the motor designs or different technologies that are necessary for a space elevator, but importantly have that practical application, accessing larger venues, accelerating the technology, and ultimately getting more teams, more people interested, and how they can actually practically develop technology that gets us there. I hope this is a good history of space elevator competitions, how they've evolved from an initial request from NASA to test power beaming to the now current tether climber competitions that we have, as well as what they have value to do. I hope you join, get a team started, develop for the competitions, and ultimately be part of this mission, pushing the future forward. Be part of something where we're building the true highway to the stars.